think of hiring as an investment, not an expense, right? I'm investing in this person just like I would tools in my business. Introducing The Vixen Voice, a podcast for ambitious women entrepreneurs ready to move into their feminine essence, live their truth, and unlock their full potential. I'm your host, April Roberts, and each week I'll be interviewing inspiring women who decided to take a leap of faith to pursue their dream. Women who believe that they were born for something bigger. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Vixen Voice. So I'm just going to warn you, except for Emma, who's in the UK, Michelle and I are coming off the holiday. So I actually took 5 days off. I can't remember the last time I did that, but I am a proponent of taking time off. So I get my time in there. I have a solo episode talking about taking time off and the importance of it. But today we are talking to you about all things hiring. And this is an audience requested topic. So I got on the best of the best to talk to you about this, at least in my universe. So my good friend Emma Mills is coming to us all the way from the UK. Emma is the founder of MiPA, which is one of the largest, if not, I think now the largest personal assistant placement in the UK. And by the way, that's what they call virtual assistants or EAs, right? So think of it as a very high level assistant. And Emma, I know you've branched into some other services for your clients as well. So we'll get into that. And for the first time on the Vixen Voice, we have Michelle Meehan, who is a very good friend of mine. I got introduced to through another friend of mine. I mean, that's kind of how we meet people at this age, right? Either that way or through the internet. So it's kind of funny. So super excited to have Michelle on here. Michelle is the VP of Marketing of Plum. And if you don't know who Plum is, look them up. They are an innovative new up-and-comer in the hiring platform. So check them out, and Michelle will tell us more about what they do today. And luckily, Michelle's coming to us from New Jersey. I say luckily because there is a hurricane hitting Texas today. So our third guest is not with us because she doesn't have internet or cell service. So let's all be grateful that our AC is working today. All right, ladies, welcome. So good to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here, April. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm definitely fresh off a holiday. I've never stumbled through an intro like that, but that was fun. So I do want to dive into the topic because hiring is a hot topic. You know, I had my own company for 15 years. I was always in charge of hiring and firing. I do think as the owner, you ultimately should be responsible for that, even if you're rubber stamping it, right? Because we are guardians of the culture and who we're bringing on our team. I guess let's start there. I'd love to hear from y'all. Do you feel the same way? Michelle, I know you're VP, but you know, when you're hiring for your team or the company, how involved is your CEO, or how involved do you think they should be?
The CEO is really involved from the very beginning in terms of determining necessity along with HR and fellow team members, regardless of department. That said, in terms of hiring for my own team, I always ensure that we have a meet and greet with Caitlin McGregor, our CEO. Caitlin founded Plum and is extremely involved in curating a culture and making sure that everyone feels like they can come to work as their authentic selves. And so she is very intrigued and motivated to meet people before they join the team.
I love it. And I love that she's providing a culture for everyone to show up as their authentic selves, because I think we all know that when we're able to do that and be in our unique genius the majority of the time, right? No job allows us really to do it all the time, unless you're like a superstar, you know. But for the most part, we don't get to do it all the time. But the more we can be in our unique genius and our authentic self, I think all the time, the better we show up and the better the working environment and the performance. So I love that. Thank you, Michelle. So Emma, I know you have hired a lot of people since you started your company in 2008. Yeah. So tell us, what is your philosophy? Like, how hands-on are you as y'all expand and hire more and more people?
Yeah, it's definitely changed throughout the growth of my PA.
Yep.
Can I just say I have had a small takeaway already there with the meet and greet because I
Yes.
am not involved in every single hire because it's just not possible anymore. I would be doing it full time. And so at my PA, like the leadership team, our executive PA team, I'm involved in that hiring, but in other areas of the business where I'm not running the department or we've spent a lot of time on systems, on what good looks like, on do they fit our culture, on Colby testing. Like we've put a lot of
Yeah.
systems in there to make sure we get the right people. But I'm not involved in all areas of it. And that is as your business grows, it's definitely a consideration in terms of wanting to make sure you get the right fit, the right culture. And you really just did make me think then, Michelle, because one thing that I do is that every quarter I'll do a lunch with new starters. But
Oh, I
potentially it's
love it.
3 months that they've been here until I've actually met them, and actually maybe a initial meet and greet is something that I just need to implement there and get in straight in.
I love it. And we're a small team now at the Vixen Gathering, but even at my financial company, I tried to spend 30 minutes with new hires their first week. So it just went on my calendar that I would do like a face to face with them for 30 minutes. So I think that's great that we're all sharing different ways that you can be involved and be in front of people. But I have a funny story. We hired someone last week, and Lexi, who's my COO, was like, oh, hey, she just has a couple of questions, blah, blah, blah. We were kind of at the end, we made an offer. And I was like, great, here's this, this, and this. You can answer the rest. Because one big question we get, and I'm curious, well, you guys are structured a little different, but we are so free flowing. And so, we are remote workers, all of us. And I know y'all are, well, Emma, I think you have everyone in the office, so we'll speak to that. But Michelle, I
Correct, yeah.
think y'all are remote too, right?
Yes, we're
So
remote.
I had someone leaving a very corporate environment coming to work with us, which sometimes is a risk because going for a startup or a small company. And I just said, hey, look, you've done this. You're better at explaining it to her than I am. Just go sell her on it, right? And I basically delegated that, and I never would have before, but I was busy, and it like panned out. So I mean, I really love when you can rely on your team because they're closer to the front line of what the experience is than we actually are, I believe. So I love that. So again, so many women I coach, my friends, people I talk to, like hiring is a big deal. And I get it because I think we've all made that bad hire and it can be really painful, right? I mean, and if you ever have to let someone go, it just never really gets easier. Like it gets easier because it's immediately going to be better once you do it because we've had that experience. But still having that conversation, I don't think, it's never going to be fun, right? Even if it's the best for all parties. So I wonder if so many women are fearful because of that fear of failure, or it's the responsibility of taking on, team members. I've heard that as well. But what I love is what's your mindset about hiring? For example, I was taught a long time ago, think of hiring as an investment, not an expense, right? I'm investing in this person just like I would tools in my business. I had another mentor who said, think of it like monthly rent. Like you don't have to think long term. And I got rid of that mentality because I want to bring people on the team for longevity. So I want to think, okay, for the long term, are we ready to invest in this, right? And so there are no right or wrong. We're all different. But like, how do you have any mindset tips like that about how you think about hiring? Or maybe it would help if someone's listening and they're a little apprehensive about hiring, they feel like it's a big weight.
Yeah, no, definitely. I have like just a two rule approach with it when I think about hiring someone. And I think depending on the size of your business and how experienced you are at working with a team, getting them into the culture, like there's a lot of responsibility to get them the right fit, that they're going
Yeah.
to help customers or, or help you. But for my two rule approach, because I think ultimately we bring on a member of the team for one of two reasons. And one is to either earn revenue because they are going to be providing the service or, like doing the do. And so ultimately, what's the opportunity lost if we don't bring this person in who can sell more, do more, answer more? So it's an opportunity lost. Like I might be saving, I don't know, $2,000 a month on salary, but if this person can earn me 4, 6, whatever that is, like it's an opportunity. But the second one, which is potentially more important, is how much of time they're going to leverage from you and how they're going to free you up within the business. One of my business coaches a couple of years ago said something to me which like stuck with me forever, and it really made me look at how I bring on other people in the business. And I was bringing on a salesperson, and I was like procrastinating on it because I thought I'm going to have to create the training program. I don't have time. Like I'll put it back. And he was like, Emma, the last thing we need is another assistant around Emma, somebody who's waiting for the next move or the next step. Like the person you bring on now has to go, well, Emma, this is what I need to get ready to do my role, or this is what I need to know to make sales. And I kind of came at it from a perspective of, well, I need this person in and I've got to lead them and teach them and guide them. And you do, I'm not like abdicating from that as well. But when you bring in people who can go, no, April, no, I know, like, if you just tell me this, tell me that, show me, like, and I can, do you know, somebody that starts to really take control? I feel like in the beginning, one of the mistakes I made with hiring was that there was like Emma in the middle, and then lots of people around me who were waiting for the next move, waiting for the next instruction, you know, rather than taking a part of the business and going, I'm pushing this forward. So if they're going to earn you more, if they're going to leverage your time, those are the two for me.
Well, I love that
love
because
those
it's a
studies.
mistake that solopreneurs often make, especially when they first start their business, right? Like an assistant for this, a part-timer here, a part-timer here. And it's like you end up being like the genius surrounded by a bunch of assistants, but they're not
Yeah.
really like taking anything off your plate. So I love that you pointed that out. So Michelle, how about you? Any wisdom here when it comes to mindset around hiring?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that Plum advocates for, and is something that I've sort of taken to my core in my own consultancy, the Silver Thread, is the idea of taking it out of your gut. So we all have gut feelings. We all have people that we meet and we automatically resonate with. And a lot of times those people end up thinking like us. And even though they're very easy to work with, they don't necessarily add anything to the culture. They don't add like a distinct voice to the strategy because you're coming at it from the same position. And so one of the things that the Plum assessment provides is this ability to match a person to the role. And what that does is allows them to bring their authentic self to the job because they've been matched by the requirements of the hiring manager and what those, dotted line associates want in that person, and then they come and say, hey, I am that person and here's our match score, and it's higher than 95%. It allows you to take it out of your gut. It allows you to make data driven decisions, and ultimately it allows for culture add versus culture fit, which ultimately rises all boats in your organization from a strategic perspective.
No, I totally love that. I just brought on a full-time executive assistant. That was our hire. And she was like, okay, if I'm going to assist you, I'm insisting that we meet every day. I don't care if it's 10 minutes. I'm like, cool. You're like forcing me to do something. Like, I like you already. I love this. Like, let's go.
Yes.
Right. Like, it was so funny. I was getting my makeup done this way. It's not my normal lady. It's someone else. And she was like, what colors do you want? And I was like, hun, this is what I'm wearing. I don't know. You're the expert. Like, let's go. Because, like, we make too many decisions in a day, and decision fatigue is real. And to your point, if you're adding a fit for the culture, you have all these yes people around you, and that's not what you want. You want to have like thoughtful, transparent conversations that move the ball forward. So, all right, if you're listening, this is phenomenal advice that our guests are bringing. So if you missed any of that, rewind it and listen again. Really, this is multi-million-dollar advice you're getting here. So awesome. Well, let's keep rolling. My next question is, again, a lot of women listening are solopreneurs, they're startup entrepreneurs. We do have some 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs listening in, but like, how do you know when it's time to hire? Because again, I've had mentors that are like, you want to wait till it's too late to hire, and that you want to do it before it's too late, right? So I've heard both ends of the spectrum. So how do y'all feel about hiring? And like, I guess, what tools do you use to decide, okay, it's time. Let's get the process going?
I would build off what Emma said previously, which is ultimately, if you are in a position where you can't bring your best energy, strategic mind, benefit to whatever the thing is. So, for example, I'm terrible at math. April knows this. What ends up happening because I'm bad at math is if I try and take that on myself, my business actually suffers from it because I'm not built to take that on in a way that is going to be beneficial for myself or the people working under me. And so to bring someone on that has that knowledge, capacity, strategic vision in that area only helps to build where I am and build on what I'm able to do in the other areas where I am stronger.
Yeah. And I'm reflecting back to something you said a moment ago, Michelle, when you were talking, and I know I want you to share with us the Plum assessments and the tools you have, but I give everyone a Colby assessment just because I've been doing that since like 2014, and I just know it so well. And at my financial firm, I was the outlier because I'm a 3394, and all my team were other numbers because I was like, I don't think we can handle two Aprils running around here, right? So, I mean, to your point, like hire for your needs. And so because I know that assessment, well, I'm like, okay, this person needs strong due diligence and fact finding, which is my 3-3. Like I like to shortcut that stuff. And so, obviously if I'm hiring a client service or a client experience person, I want them long on that because I need them to take the ball. Like I'm really good at getting people excited and getting them in, but I need someone to make sure we follow through and take care of them, right? Which is why I hesitated until we made this hire to expand our consulting business, because in consulting, my clients are paying me a lot of money and I have to follow up with stuff. And I know I'm not good at that. And we did not have the system or the person in place to take that ball. So I didn't want to make that promise, right? So now with this strategic hire and then my team building systems, it's opening up a whole nother avenue of revenue for our company and exciting work. I mean, I love doing the consulting. I just don't like doing the stuff after the fact, right? So if someone can do that, I can be in my unique genius and like everybody wins and the client's happy. So no, I love that. So tell us a little bit. I wanted to get into this a little later, but because we're talking about this, I want to honor Plum because I know y'all have an amazing assessment that I've taken before. So tell us a little bit about your assessment and what you do to help people in hiring.
Sure. So the thing about Plum is it measures 10 different traits of a personality, and those 10 traits are present in all people, right? Mm-hmm. So there's things that drive you that, you jump out of bed in the morning and you're like, I really want to do this. And then there's things that drain you. Now, the things that drain you doesn't mean you're bad at them, but it means that if you did them all day, so for April, for you, it would be execution. If you did them all day, you would be like, today was the worst day. Please bring me a giant glass of rosé, right? You're just
God, follow-up emails. Just right? Shoot me if I had to write follow-up emails all day long.
Yeah. So what Plum does is Plum looks at these innate things through the big 5 personality factors and using non-biased forced choice questions to figure out who you are at your innate self and determines what of those things are your top 3 and what of those things are your bottom 3. Now for the top 3, it's like these are the types of jobs you want to go after if this is what you're really good at, and these are things that you can do to enhance those skills, and here are some classes and videos and things that you could watch to enhance them. And then for the things that are draining and live at the bottom, here's some ways to develop some coping mechanisms and compensatory strategies so that you're not so drained. So for me, for example, I am not the best at teamwork. I actually really struggle with it. On the consultancy side of my business, that's great. Doesn't matter. It's just me and the client, and I'm all here and I'm making things happen. When I'm sitting in my VP of marketing role and I'm running a team, that is really critical to have a compensatory strategy for, and not just for the people that are reporting to me, but also going across the organization and talking to other people in sales or rev ops or, product alignment. So I think what's interesting about it and what I've learned is it's not just about finding something that you're really good at, but also finding ways to not feel so drained by the things that are a little more tiring for you. And that's been really powerful for me.
I'm a huge fan of this, and this is why the topic I speak most on podcast and give speeches about is time, energy, and confidence management. And I think so many people miss the energy and confidence component. Like forever, I've said I'm an energy broker. Forget time management. It's about my energy because, we've all had those days where we're tired or dragging or not feeling our best, and you really think everyone around you is either dumb or an asshole. Excuse my language, but we know when. I'm being extreme, but when your energy is not at its best, you're not showing up as your best. And most women that I work with, and I know who listen to this podcast, they really do their business because they want to serve people. Yes, we all want to make money and do other things, but we're really service related. And how are you serving others if you're not managing your energy, your time, and your confidence so you can show up your best? So I love that you're talking about that, because a lot of times, it's something about the nature of how women are socialized in, and I use the term socialized in our current times because it's not natural feminine essence or energy to operate this way. But, we're givers, be givers, and we have to do everything perfect, and we have to be superwoman, and we have to show up our best, and we can do everything, and we're not good at delegating, and it's just not true. And I love it that these are, here are these data and science backed assessments that tell you differently, right? We really should know. I like to call it our superpower and our kryptonite because I'm a child of the 80s, so I'm very much into the Justice League, Superman, Superwoman, all those. But, you have to know what your kryptonite is, and you have to know what your superpowers are. And the more you get to operate in your superpower, like you said, the better the week's going to be. You're not reaching for that glass of wine at the end of the day. And also the better you're going to perform and the more you're going to move the needle. And I love that it's eked into consciousness to think the same way for your teams, because that was not the situation when we were all coming up in our corporate careers, right? Like, no, it was like you're getting paid to do it.
100% not. And what's interesting too, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but that makes me think, in addition to the hiring piece, which we would call talent acquisition on like a more corporate level, there's also a talent management piece. And one thing that Plum does really well, and I think goes back to your hiring scenario that you mentioned, April, is ultimately we also look at team optimization. So do you have a bunch of people who are really high in communication and really low in execution? Well, that means everybody's going to have a great conversation in the meeting. There's going to be so many ideas. It's going to be amazing. And then nobody is going to follow up. Nobody's going to write the notes, move it to the next step. And so there's a finding of a balance of putting all of these folks together to ensure that not only people feel like they can come as their authentic self and manage their energy and all of those great things, but also that it works really well in moving the business forward.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And that came to me. I was at Strategic Coach last week. I'm in Strategic Coach, and it came to me. I was like, yeah, we don't have that person shipping the code, but we actually do, because we've brought in a consultant or a third party that works with us, and she's the one making sure things get done. But that's part of the reason for this more recent hire, because I was like, I need someone on my core team, like bringing us across the finish line. So I totally agree with that. I love that y'all can tell all of that through the tools you offer. So Emma, I'm going to come back to you. I know you not only hire for MiPA, but I know through MiPA, you help your clients decide when it's time to hire assistants and bring on team members. So can you give us some guidelines here? When do you know it's time to hire?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, ladies, the conversation you just had, I'm just like nodding the whole way through because I mean,
Yeah.
I talk about like focus on the fun stuff, and it's a very kind of high level exp like you guys have just absolutely nailed the description that most of our clients come to us because at some point they have just stopped enjoying the journey. Like they haven't stopped
Hmm.
enjoying, running the business, growing the business. I was talking to one of our clients the other week, and they're a husband and wife team, don't have any support around them, and they're doing it with kids. And she was taking the lead on trying to get like all of the customer service, everything done. So we've come in to alleviate like that customer service booking piece. And she talked about how her mental health felt better, like they were no longer
Hmm.
doing it in the evenings together as a couple, like trying
Hmm.
to sort the business out. And like it's just so rhythmic every single week that we will talk to somebody that they are they are well, they're trying to do everything, but it's like it's just literally what you've talked about in terms of you go into business thinking you're either going to just absolutely love it all the time or earn more, have more time freedom. And what happens a lot of the time is all of these things get flipped on the head because you're trying to like keep it all running. You wear all the hats, you're trying to learn everything, CRMs, marketing, sales, operations, like, you're trying to do everything. And just what I see so much is what you just, and so ultimately with like this, how we help our clients is generally from an exec assistant or like pushing projects forward, or maybe it's admin, customer service. And for the most people, most of our clients, it's not their zone of genius. They either
Hmm.
have a trade or a skill that they love to do, or they love being the visionary, the person that's the ideas, like you've just been talking about, April, and they just want somebody to help them execute. So I do think that most people hire too late. Like I do think
Hmm.
like
I
the
agree.
majority keep putting it off. Think, well, I'll just do a bit more, or I'll just work the evening, or I'll just catch up on the weekend. I can keep it going. I can keep it going. When actually, and there's so many options now, whether it's up Asia, the US, like VAs employing someone. There's so many options to get help. Like hiring doesn't have to
Hmm.
be about somebody full time straight away, does it? It doesn't have to be I have to keep them busy. There are so many amazing options now, and I just think, yeah, I do think that a lot of solopreneurs will just wait a little bit too long until they're starting to think, God, why did I start this in the first place anyway?
Well, I agree. And going back to our conversation about energy, right? We're not at our best. We're not the best human being we can be when our energy is depleted. So think about if
Mm-hmm.
you bring on a new team leader that you're meant to mentor, guide, and lead, and you're like at the bottom of your energy bucket, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
agree with
Mm-hmm.
you so many times. And then I saw this when I first started hiring for my financial planning practice because I didn't know how to hire. I mean, I had always been a lawyer that worked in law firms, right? Like, I wasn't in charge of hiring. I just had to bill my hours and keep the clients happy. And so, I would hire too late, and then I'm not setting that person up for success because at that point, I desperately need them. And so much is resting on their shoulders that they don't have the room to breathe and really grow into the job. So yes, now we were bringing on this EA for me part time. And then I was like, why are we doing this? We know we're eventually going to hire her full time, which is why she agreed to the part time. Because she went, I'm like, we are growing so fast that in 1, 2, 3 months, I'm going to hire her full time. So let me just suck it up and let's do this. Right. And that's going to give her time to like get in and figure out what's going on, clean some things up for us, put systems in place. Whereas if we waited till the last minute, she'd be running around like a chicken with her head cut off. So trying to fix things. So I love it. Like you, Emma, I love doing podcasts, guesting and hosting because you think so much during it and you learn so much. I
Yeah.
love learning from
Mm-hmm.
my guests. So thank you so much for this great conversation. So I think this is really important because, again, I hear a lot of fear and scarcity mentality when it comes to hiring. I think, for most women, we like to be prepared. We like to do things well, right? So what would you suggest to someone that they have done ahead of like publishing the job post? Because I know so many people that are like, oh, I just published a job post. And it's like, okay, what else have you done? Oh, well, nothing. I just published the job posts, right? So again, this is if you're a small business owner, we work these things out. But what do y'all ideally do before a job posting goes live?
Number one is knowing what good looks like what is a
Mm-hmm.
100%. one of our clients had this really like great job description. It was just one sentence, and it was make Nigel's life easier. Like that was his job description. That's all he wanted was to like just make just make my life easier. And for him, that's actually quite clear in that, things that are coming my way, problems to solve. But definitely it's having an understanding of so all the things we've talked about there, like whether it's the things we don't enjoy and we don't have a skill set for, we just need someone to bring that expertise in, understanding the problem that they're solving and what good is going to look like. Because it is, I do feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, we think everybody's a mind reader. We think like they just get it and they're going to get on with it like us, and they're going to, if there's a problem, just solve it. And because we're really adaptable and we back ourselves. And sometimes, I know I've definitely been guilty of this in the past, just kind of expecting people to get on with it. And I'm not kind of talking about a job description here, just more of a, what does like, if they were to start in a month's time and they'd been here in 6 months' time, what does success look like? What is 100%? Is it just some key deliverables? Is it that they've brought on some more clients? Is it that they've kept happy clients? Is it that they're supporting you and you now have 10 hours back a week to go and do the things you love? Or just and so it doesn't have to be complicated for me. It just you have to have in your mind, how am I going to know that this person is succeeding in what they're doing? I think that's the really key part before you start interviewing and after the job's been posted.
I think that's so important. So often, especially as people are getting used to the writing of job descriptions, they'll Google the job description of what they think they need, and then they'll make like 1 or 2 tweaks. And then from the 2 tweaks, they'll post it. And what it really doesn't do is set the person up for success, because they haven't really thought through exactly what they need from that person. They haven't, to your point, Emma, thought about what success is going to look like. I think that those are both incredible points, and I don't necessarily have anything to add to them, but I would note that one thing that I do is really talk through who I am as a person in the interview process, which I think some people might find odd, but ultimately I want people to know I'm super direct. I'm from Jersey. I'm Italian. I'm a Scorpio. Like, I don't really have any punches to pull, right? I'm coming out with it. It's going to be so clear. You might feel offended. It's not my thing. I'm just trying to get on to the next thing. Always, like, I'm here for you. Ask me a million questions. I ask a million questions. It's my way of connecting and just being really clear about how I like to work, because I think it gives them a real opportunity to say, hey, the job might be for me. The goals that you've set up for me seem like things I want to do. I'm really, innately good at them. But from a personality perspective, do I think this is going to be a good fit for me? Am I going to feel good coming to work every day and being on your team? And from my consultancy piece, I would say those people that you do bring on, especially very early on, are critical to your success and critical to being able to get on with it once they know you, to Emma's point. I think you really want people to get on with it. You need them to. You don't have the bandwidth to do it yourself, but you need to set them up for that with the information about yourself and the business for what you want them to do.
Yeah, I love that. I think these are all great points. I'm thinking of so many things as you're talking, but my tip would be, make sure you have the hiring process laid out for yourself, because again, especially if you're a visionary entrepreneur like me, I will jump off the cliff before I check if my parachute is functioning, right? But really it helps you stay on track in the hiring process, and it helps you honor the people hiring, because they're always going to ask, what's the next step, right? So be prepared. Or even, we had a documented hiring process in my financial firm, and I did that originally because I didn't want to do all the interviewing, and I didn't want it to take a lot of my team's time and energy outside of the time, right? So it was like, hey, you just grab the sheet, you go in, this is what you're doing for the hiring process, right? And of course we had the set assessments, etc., and we had how to score them afterwards, and we'd have like a 5-minute combo. So it just made it go very fast. But I mean, even if it's like, hey, I'm going to interview them at least twice or 3 times, or I'm going to, and I would recommend, because a lot of times, if you're a small business or a solopreneur, leveraging your time is so important. important. Last time I hired an EA, I made the mistake of posting in a Facebook group. And of course, you know, how many people responded. And then I was like, I got to solve this problem. So I went on to Typeform, chatted in their little AI, like, you know, here's some questions. And it spit out a survey for me. Well, it took down the like hundreds of people down to 9 just because they had to fill out a survey that took them 2 minutes, right? So, you know, just think, how can I leverage my time? There's so many hacks these days. I'm a huge fan of asking them to do something before we even get on the screening interview. And so for me, that's really to see who's going to take the action and who wants it. And then for me, the screening interview is 15 to 20 minutes rapid fire. And it's just because sometimes people look great on paper, but maybe their energy doesn't vibe with, you know, the culture, or they look great on paper, but then you talk to them and you're like, it's like pulling teeth. So that's why I like usually screening interviews second for us. And I always interview everyone 3 times because you really see the real person the 3rd time. And I know I'd love to get y'all's feedback because Emma, you do this all the time. And I know sometimes you got to move fast or you're going to lose the good talent. Like they don't want you stringing this out for a long period of time. Like they want answers. So like, what are y'all's thoughts on like processes and the time length?
Yeah, so in terms of getting people to do stuff for you, that 100% gets you the best pool of people out of the people that have applied. And we've just tweaked our process, and it works really well for a salesperson. And we've kind of put it through to every other role that we have. And there is an initial form that they fill in. And then before they get to actual interview with us, we now ask them to record like a 2-minute interview, and how they 2-minute video, sorry, and how they record it is up to them, whether it's just a Loom or a video on their iPhone. And we give them, it varies on the role, but we give them 2 or 3 things just to answer, and then we ask them to tell us a joke at the end of it.
Like
and it's really interesting how, like, say we get 100 apply, maybe 50 fill in the form, and then 10 will do the video. But we know that like and I'm not saying you have to be a videographer and amazing, and that is not the point of it. The point is that you've done the extra bit and you've like actually read the advert properly. Do you, like, so many people don't even read the advert or sign the cover letter that you've asked for, or so I'd rather, you know, we'd much rather spend our time on these 10 people who we know have researched us, have done the work. So yeah, I definitely the more you can get them to do something, not like really, really onerous, but the video for us is working really well.
I like it. Yeah, and videos are easier today. I tried the video thing back in like 2016, 17, and people were still weird about video, and it really like drug our process. But I like that you mentioned it because I should rethink that, because in today's world, we're all so used to hopping on a Zoom and recording ourselves or something. So I love that. And I love that you make them do the research before, because one of my favorite questions in the screening interview is like, hey, you know, why do you feel you're a great fit for our team? Which I'm really asking, what the heck do you know about us, right? Like, have you gone out and done anything? Have you looked at anything? And that's really the purpose. Ladies, this has been phenomenal. And again, if you're listening, there are so many pearls of wisdom. Please re-listen if you're considering hiring, because as you can see, we all have, you know, what I know, me 16 years plus of hiring experience, you ladies the same or more, right? And we're learning from each other in sharing in this conversation. So really, if you're in the process of hiring, go re-listen. You want to bookmark this episode. And what I'd love to do is invite you back, because we have run out of time, to talk about onboarding and talent management. So what are our next steps? Because we focus so much on hiring today. So we will just do a part 2 of this panel. And again, if you're hiring, if you have a team, you won't want to miss it. So before we go, Michelle, you have never been on the Vixen Voice before, so this is Emma's 3rd time. So I just love to say, as I said, Michelle was introduced to me by a mutual friend. I actually coached her a little bit for something specific she needed help with, and she's just, as you can tell, super intelligent, but such a great person, such a great mother, and she's so family oriented. And we didn't even get to touch on any of that today, but I just love how multidimensional you are, because I know women are listening going, wow, this woman's a badass, but she's also a badass at home. That's kind of cool too, right? Anyway, Wanted to give that quick shout out. And then as we wrap up, what other advice or just a parting message would you give to everyone listening? And Emma, I'll call on you first for this one.
Yeah, I would say that for me, most of us, whatever our dreams are, whatever we want to achieve, I do think it's fair to say that most of us can't do it on our own. We need someone to leverage our time, support us, make us better, learn from, help us. And Jim Rohn has a really great quote, which is, if you feel lonely at the top, you're doing it wrong. And for me, that is how you should, especially in the early days of growing a business, when you're growing your team, it should be like fun, you complement each other, like it should be an addition to your life, not something that's a stress, a pain, or I wish I wasn't working with them. So 100% hiring is a really great thing if we just prep and plan properly for it.
I love it.
That is amazing advice, Emma. I couldn't agree more. I think one thing that I would add is when you are hiring people and you are hiring them because they are culture add and because they are experts in areas in which you are not, let them do it. Let them. Let them be the expert. Let them come to you with the information. Let them own things. Let go of those pieces so that they can iterate and innovate on it and bring you, a shinier gem in that piece of the organization.
I love it. And this just happened for me. So I totally outsourced start to finish the podcast, other than, the guests, the topics is me and popping on here. And that was really hard because it's my baby, but it's not sustainable because we do 2 episodes a week. And our new podcast manager took us from top 10 to top 5 in 1 month, which was my goal. So
wow.
yeah. And I mean, thank you. And I mean, some of the things, promotional, I probably wouldn't have done that she was doing. But I mean, this is her area of genius, right? Like, we have to let the reins go. So yeah, you can have phenomenal wins if you're willing to let go of that control, bring on the right team members. And I'm with you. Like, I mean, I think of our team, and even, I don't know, our third parties, like our consultants, maybe call them vendors, whatever. I mean, if they don't feel like family, why would I be spending every day with these people? Like,
right.
Really, it's like the juice of life. Like, you want to enjoy the people you're around, and that's a fulfilling life. And I want everyone who works with us to succeed as well, because I mean, how fun if we all create this great thing and we're making lots of money and we get to enjoy life. Like, I can't imagine anything better. So I know we are out of time. Thank you, ladies, so much. My gosh, I could have talked to you for 2 more hours. I know you have so much wisdom to share. I also know you both have a lot going on. So shoot me any promotions or what you have going on, and we will drop them in the show notes. And again, if you want to connect with Emma and Michelle further, which I'm sure you will, just check out the show notes. If you have not already subscribed, go to our website, vixengathering.com, subscribe to the Vixen Voice, and we will deliver all of these goodies to your inbox. So, ladies, thank you so much. And as I always say, the world needs more love. What's amazing is, as business owners, as vice presidents of marketing, we get to bring the love. I mean, we're so lucky in what we do. We get to bring it to our teams, to our clients, to the people we serve, and how we show up. So really think about your energy. I posted this morning on Instagram, you can either be the victim or the heroine of your life. So how are you going to show up as the heroine this week to you and to those around you? So have a great week, everyone, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks again for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe so future episodes are automatically downloaded directly to your device. And if you want access to today's show notes, including links to all the resources we mentioned, visit vixengathering.com/podcast. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week for another episode of The Vixen Voice.